Welcome back to another episode of Silver Screen, and this time around we're going to be discussing the awesome work of Jessica Lange. And Jessica Lange is someone who you might have known because she's been in a lot of famous movies and TV shows. However, she's always been connected in one way or another to photography. And so today we're going to be discussing that connection. We're going to be discussing her influences, what she took from the photographers that influenced her work, and what we can take from them and from her work. And of course, we're going to be having a sort of like a glimpse into Jessica Lange's photographic world. And so without further ado, you know what to do. Grab a drink, make yourself comfortable, and let's go straight into another video. Jessica Lange was born in the American state of Minnesota, where in 1967 she was awarded a scholarship to study art and photography. And following this trail, which led her to the University of Minnesota, she met her future husband, photographer Paco Grande. And after marrying in 1971, they started traveling first around the country and later on venturing into Mexico and ending up in Paris, France. And it was there that Lange first started to take an interest in acting, whilst exploring the world of mime theatre. After returning to the US, she continued her path in acting and modeling, eventually being discovered by Hollywood and being casted in Dino De Laurentiis' King Kong, where she acted alongside Jeff Bridges, whose photography work we've also discovered in this series. After King Kong, Lange would eventually jump into other productions, such as the remake of The Postman Always Rings Twice in 1981, Cape Fear in 1991, Tennessee Williams' adaptation of A Streetcar Named Desire in 1995, which would prove her enormous acting talent. However, she never forgot about her photography, and during the 1990s, she was particularly encouraged by her then partner, actor and playwright Sam Shepard, who gifted her with a Leica M6, which became her companion as she traveled the world throughout the next decades. And so at the time I'm making this video, there are at least 5 different books that reunite the work of Jessica Lange, one of them being a children's book, so we're not going to be discussing that one. I'm going to be concentrating on the 4 others. And the 4 others are her first monograph, which was released in 2008, titled 50 Photographs. And then we've got In Mexico, which was released in 2010. We've got Unseen, which was released in 2015. And also in 2019, she released Highway 61. And in all these books, which somehow have been tied up with documentary photography, we can see that there's a great capacity of observation. And Jessica Lange herself considers her work a work of observation, an observational work. And this has to do as well with her influences. And so I'm going to be quoting her on her photography influences, what she has taken from them, and hopefully that'll also give you a glimpse of her work, maybe to better understand it, and also some tips in regards to these photographers that we can take to our own photography. And she says really interesting stuff. Henri Cartier-Bresson, Walker Evans, Manuel Bravo, Joseph Kudelka, Bruce Davidson or Robert Frank, these photographers are observers, and I've always surrounded myself with their photographs. Wherever I've lived, they've always lived with me on the walls of my house. I'm constantly, even on a subliminal level, being influenced by them, and I've drawn from some of them on a technical level. I noticed very early on that Cartier-Bresson always printed full negatives. There is always the negative line. So that was the decision I made at some point. That I wouldn't crop, that I wouldn't adjust the negative in any way. That this was just what it was. Or Kudelka, with his very high contrast grainy prints. I love that as well. So that's another thing I adopted, but the eye you can't copy. It was Robert Frank who said, the impulse to take a photo is an emotional reaction. And I think that's really what it is. You see something and you're drawn to it. Your camera comes up, you focus, and you try to capture that image somehow. I do think it's emotional, and the photographs that I have collected and the ones that I most appreciate somehow move me. It's not about composition and it's not about abstraction. It's about a moment. And I'd like to make a connection or build a bridge between all the ideas that I've just quoted from Jessica Lange and a very, very interesting quote I found in the introduction pages of her book Unseen. And it's a quote by Immanuel Kant, a German philosopher, and I'll leave links to his work down below if you're interested in that. And it goes as, we see things not as they are, we see them as we are. And this is very important because it's about the definition of style, about the definition of those rules, those ideas, those principles that we come up with and we establish our photography, or the way we define our photography, because our photography is not something that stands still and doesn't move. It's not about just capturing a moment. It's about establishing a connection and put everything that we know, that we see, the way we see the world, which is very different from everybody else's, because everybody has their unique way of seeing the world, in a frame, and combining that with reality. And I think this quote is so interesting and so powerful and really inspiring on that level, because it helps us understand as well the work of Jessica Lange. She says that her work is observational, and if we look at her photos, we see this mixing of a feeling, the power of having that moment in time where you see something and you establish a connection with it. And you can see that there's more than to the photo than just what it is, than just a couple laying down, or a child running, or a road, an empty road. There's so much more to it. There's a feeling of emptiness, there's a feeling of like going back in time, a memory, a sensation. And I think that is really, really important to take from her work, and it's honestly such a great lesson, and I believe that we should all be grateful for her work, and honestly we can learn so much through it. But there's also another thing I'd like to mention regarding Jessica's work, and that is the idea of the artist as a sort of humanitarian. Looking at Jessica Lange's work, we can identify an idea of humanism connected with this observation. And perhaps it's not by chance that she's a very talented actress, because actors, in my opinion, have a greater understanding than others over emotion, what it means to feel a certain way, the embodiment of an emotion and its repercussions to both body and soul. Actors have what I like to call a deeper understanding over the meaning of human condition. And in Jessica Lange's case, I believe her acting, her understanding of emotion, and her capacity of observation, combined with her photographic knowledge and influences, imprints a humanistic quality and depth to her work. That is without a doubt one of the most inspiring ideas we can take from her photography. So that's been all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed this video. I always enjoy working on all of my videos, but this one in particular, I really related to a lot of things that Jessica Lange said, and that's why I quoted her. And, worked around her interviews a lot more than I usually would for other photographers, because I really find her philosophy really interesting. At least her photography philosophy, which is what we discussed here. And yes, I would like to thank you so much for the support shown to the channel, to this show in particular. Also for all the comments and all the messages regarding other series, other ideas. And trust me, I've been reading them. I apologize if I can't reply straight away to everyone. And yes, I will be working on something related with photography, well, which connects photography and music. So if you know photographers / musicians, comment down below. I'll be pinning comments and I'll be taking screenshots and whatever so I can work on that show. But before we do that, I have another episode of this show, which is quite challenging for me, I would put it this way, because it's a very complex, very vast work, photography work that also touches other medias such as painting. So we'll see that in the last episode, and I think you'll like that one, and definitely we'll always try and learn something. And yeah, I guess that before we dive into other series, in this case music, photography, etc., I do have a little mini series that I would like to put out on a channel, which is about photography during a specific time in history. And I think it's really interesting, and we're gonna touch the work of some photographers that might have not been so popular back then. But yeah, we're gonna cast some light on their work. I would also like to thank you for voting on the monthly video choices, I would put it this way, which is, if you not know what I'm talking about, basically I'll put a story on my Instagram, I'll give you 4 different options of photographers in this case for a video, and you'll pick. And so it's your monthly pick. And I wanted to thank you for all the support, for always voting, being so active and engaging in the channel. I really appreciate that, and it's really motivating as well. So yeah, keep an eye out for the new content. I'll leave links down below to my work and where you can find me on social media, so you can vote on that, on those videos. And I guess that has been all for today. And as usual, I hope you stay safe, keep shooting film, and I'll see you here for another video very soon. Peace.
Every night I hope and pray, oh, that your loving baby will come my way. Now I go to sleep with one thought on my mind. I love you, baby.